Welcome back, horror fans, cinephiles, and giallo enthusiasts. This is Tanner Leeser, your host for all things giallo, here on The King in Giallo. Our next stop on our journey through giallo cinema is the second giallo film from Luigi Bazzoni, The Fifth Chord, released in 1971. This video is an edited down version. Herein you will find the overview portion of the full-length video. Coming next week will be the complete deep dive with the review and GialliTally. This video may be watched without any spoilers. Here is The Fifth Chord Overview. The Fifth Chord is an Italian production directed by Luigi Bazzoni, who also co-wrote the film along with Mario Fanelli and Mario de Nardo, based upon a novel by David MacDonald Devine. Music is composed by Ennio Morricone. The cast is made up of Franco Nero as Andrea Bild, Silvia Monti as Helena, Wolfgang Preiss as the inspector, Pamela Tiffin as Lou, Edmund Perdum as Eduard Vermont, Rossella Falk as Sofia Bini, Renato Romano as Dr. Richard Bini, Ira Fürstenberg as Isabel Lancia, Maurizio Bonuglia as John Lubbock, Guido Alberti as Traversi, Agostini Belli as Giulia, and Corrado Gaipa as the editor. The plot follows Andrea, a journalist who is down on his luck to the point of debilitating alcoholism as he tries to fix things with his estranged wife, Helena, but after a series of murders are enacted against some acquaintances of his, he becomes a suspect to the police. Solving these murders becomes an opportunity for Andrea to get the story of a lifetime and save his career, and so he does some snooping on his own. The killer reaches out to the reporter, warning him against his amateur pursuit, but Andrea stays the course, compromising the safety enjoyed by his wife and kid. I've said it before and I will say it again, Luigi Bazzoni is one of the most underappreciated directors in this genre. Some of you will remember him from The Possessed 1965, which I ranked as my personal favorite giallo film of the 1960s. In the case of The Fifth Chord, he does not disappoint. The film remains one of the most perfect giallo films and is utterly stylish and gorgeous, a quintessential classic. The film perfectly combines color, decor, and framing to deliver some images which embody the cinematic phrase stating that every frame should be a picture. Franco Nero takes one of the most cliched and stock characters in the detective genre and makes him endearing and unique thanks to his charming yet sincere performance. The character arc is treated with respect and demands your investment thanks to the combined works of both its actor, Franco Nero, as well as its writer and director, Luigi Bazzoni. The two had already worked together recently, but on a spaghetti western, Man, Pride, Vengeance, 1968, a western version of Carmen by Prosper Mérimée, co-starring Klaus Kinski. The killer's motivation in the film is rather cliched in hindsight, but amazingly, as I have gone through these gialli mostly in chronological order of their release dates, the cliched reason for the killings this film utilizes has yet to be applied or has very sparingly been used. Over the next years, though, it will become one of the most common motivations. Some gorehounds will be detracted at the lack of on-screen splattery violence and buckets of blood, but Bazzoni more than makes up for this by having some of the greatest and most tense scenes ever put together in giallo. In fact, I talk about how this giallo film, above all others, contains the only scene in the entire genre which actually had me on the edge of my seat scared for what was about to happen. Cinematographer Vittorio Storaro suggests that Luigi Bazzoni took on the project more so as it was the big thing to do this season, as the genre was in fashion, but amazingly, the film does not come off as a director who simply was cashing in on the hot trend. Storaro wonderfully employs light and shadow to set the mood and craft some haunting settings. The character scenes laden with dialogue are also remarkably well-paced and engaging. In a genre where its fans typically accept that the majority of the films will shamble from one exciting set piece to the next, kind of like a Godzilla movie where you're not interested in the human plot, this giallo defies this expectation. These sequences hold our attention, and the tense moments later on are thus enhanced all the more thanks to the film's captivation of our interest. We care about these characters. Helping to bring the visual elements in line even more is the fantastic score by the maestro Ennio Morricone. The music ranges from being cool and jazzy to discordant and uneasy. Morricone was truly on fire at this time, although Argento had his qualms. Franco Nero was born in 1941, began appearing in photo novels, then debuted on screen in the early 1960s. He burst into the starlight with his titular character in the 1966 spaghetti western classic Django, directed by Sergio Corbucci. Nero would star in numerous more westerns, including The Mercenary, but also international pictures such as The Bible, In the Beginning, 1966 by John Huston, and Camelot, 1967 by Joshua Logan. He would also seep his way into the more art house European flicks such as A Quiet Place in the Country, 1968 by Elio Petri, which, by the way, I have seen listed as being a proto-giallo film in some circles, and I will be going back to cover this film in some way, shape, or form. But I digress. As well as that film, Nero also appeared in Tristana, 1970 by Luis Buñuel. Despite dabbling in giallo and being the face of the most iconic Italian Western character, Nero would grow to dominate the poliziesque crime genre of Italian cinema during this decade. Nero's proficiency for portraying a softer side against his rugged exterior made him a hit with audiences. The Django legend would make a brief cameo in the 2012 Quentin Tarantino film, Django Unchained, and I cannot say how many times I've had to tell people that that is the original Django, and they are baffled. Now, Troy Howarth points out that Nero had appeared in several early films, which are often miscategorized as being proto-gialli, but in his estimation, they are not. These include The Third Eye, 1966 by Mino Guerrini, Un Detective, 1969 by Romolo Guerrieri, and the aforementioned A Quiet Place in the Country by Elio Petri. Nero would make another giallo appearance several decades later in Bad Inclination, 2003. Princess Ira Fürstenberg returns to the genre after appearing in Five Dolls for an August Moon, 1970 by Mario Bava, which shares a screenwriter with The Fifth Chord, Mario Di Nardo. Silvia Monti was in A Lizard in a Woman's Skin, 1971 by Lucio Fulci. Renato Romano was in The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, 1970 by Dario Argento. Rossella Falk was in Run Psycho Run, 1968 by Brunello Rondi. And Wolfgang Preiss would appear later this year in The Blood-Stained Butterfly, 1971 by Duccio Tessari. Agostina Belli would go on to appear in Double Murder, 1977 by Marcello Mastroianni. Luigi Bazzoni will go on to direct one more giallo film, the wildly psychological and nightmarish Footprints on the Moon, 1975, starring Florinda Balkan with Klaus Kinski. Another movie Howarth doesn't consider to be a giallo, but we disagree. Thank you for watching this overview-only video. Don't miss the full overview, review, and GialliTally for The Fifth Chord next week. As of right now, you can find the movie streaming on Tubi, Amazon Prime Video, Plex, and the Roku channel. Don't forget to like this video and join me next week to see the rest of this review. Comment your predictions for the AZ score for the movie and the final GialliTally score. Head on over to the King in Giallo Patreon for early access and exclusive content, the viewings, the King in Giallo podcast, the Giallo Adjacent podcast, the Rat Hole Burn movie reviews, the Giallo Reads book reviews, plus more. Thank you very much for your continued support. This is Tanner Leeser for the King in Giallo, and if nothing else, I'll see you next time.
Oh no! Oh no! No, no! No,